back to Conversations on Deck, and today is Manager Monday, folks. I'm hoping you had a great weekend. I did. The rain finally went away, and we got some sunshine in Alaska. And the Red Sox, they're still going strong. Now they're on a road trip. Anyways, let's look at this 1967 Topps Dave Bristol card. I got it in classic wax when I pulled that on, or actually, was it classic wax? Or it may have been repacked wax. I'm not sure, but anyways, it was a cool pull. You see that there? And then you got information on the back. Let me read a little bit of that information first. The youngest manager in the majors today, Dave, at 33, took over Cincinnati's reins in the mid-year 1966. He broke into professional baseball in 1951 as a second baseman in the Appalachian League. In 1957, Dave assumed the role of a player manager at Hornell in the New York, Pennsylvania League. He continued in this capacity at other farm clubs until 1961. Then Dave devoted his full attention to managing. He spent 2 years at Macon in the Sally League, posting a third and second place finish. In 1964, Dave managed the San Diego club and won the Pacific Coast League pennant. Last season, Dave started out as a coach on the Cincinnati team. Upon the dismissal of manager Don Hefner, no relation to Hugh Hefner, Dave was given the opportunity to lead the Reds. Dave is fully aware of Cincinnati's potential, having been with them all season. I think I love those manager cards from '67 and in the mid to late '60s because they give you a ton of information about these guys. Well, okay, so we know about Dave a little bit. He was a minor leaguer. He was born in Macon, Georgia, and he managed the Reds from '66 to '69, and I'd say he had a good record. He was .298 and .265 with 16 ejections. So not bad, Dave. Not bad. Well, in 1967, the Reds were fourth in the NL with an 87 and 75 record. He had some really solid ball players on his team. At catcher, he had Johnny Edwards. First base, he had Darren Johnson, who would eventually go on and be a manager for the Red Sox. He had all-star Tommy Helms at second base. What a great last name, Helms. Reminds me of like Helms Deep. Leo Cardenas at shortstop. Tony Perez at third base. He was an all-star. He was a young guy. Pete Rose, another youngin, who was an all-star that year in left field. And Veda Pinson, center field, led both leagues with 13 triples. Tommy Harper, right field. Love Tommy Harper, especially when he came to the Red Sox in the 70s. And he had a 19-year-old kid named Johnny Bench on the team. He also had another 19-year-old, Gary Nolan, who had a 6.3 WAR and was 14-8. So, tough kids on that team. And then Ted Abernathy, their closer, had a 6.2 WAR. He led the NL with 70 game appearances. He led both leagues with 61 game finishes and also 28 saves. So, you know what? Dave had a good squad there. Good squad. He had a lot of young kids, too. And you could almost say he was kind of front-loading there for the Big Red Machine in between 66 and 69, bringing up people like Bench and Rose and Perez. So pretty cool. Well, here's a couple of quotes for you to kind of round out our Manager Monday. You guys know I love quotes. Well, here's a quote. Dave had a couple of nicknames, and the first one I'll share with you is 007. Apparently, he was a fan of the James Bond movies. And here's a quote of his. Boys, baseball is a game where you got to have fun. You do that by winning. End quote. You know what? I think he's right there. It is so much more fun to win than lose. But you also have to be a good winner. And I think you got to be a good loser too. Don't be a sore loser. And it is so easy to get into it into your mind that you guys are losers and you're not going to win and blah, 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 blah. But on the other side, you got to be humble winners. You got to be men and women of character and integrity. But let's go back to this James Bond, this 007 nickname. I'm a big fan of the James Bond franchise. When I was a teenager, read most all of the books, still have the books, and I would say, my favorite James Bond movie, for sure, it's got to be Goldfinger with Sean Connery. It just was so smooth. It was just great, and the book was terrific too. So I'd say, if you haven't read any of the James Bond books, pick those up and maybe go back down memory lane, watch Goldfinger. I'd be curious if anybody's watching this. Tell me what James Bond movie was your favorite. That would be kind of cool. Now, we're going to have one more quote, and nickname here. Another nickname for Dave was Captain Hook. And you can guess, it's not because of his nose. If you saw my nose, you'd think, okay, that might be, applicable. But this was because with his pitchers, once he got a little nervous, he's given them the hook. And back in 1980, when he was managing the San Francisco Giants, he gave the hook in the ninth inning to John Montefusco, the Count, as he was called. And the Giants were actually winning. Well, the Giants ended up winning the game anyways, but the Count was not happy. And here's what the Captain Hook said. Quote, "There's only so much you can take before you have to do something. I'm there to provide leadership, and when it's questioned, I have to take a stand." He, meaning Montefusco, got to talking. I asked him to leave, and when he didn't, I attempted to put him out. End quote. Well, here's what transpired. Montefusco went in there, said some choice words, I'm sure. Bristol said some choice words back, and they got into a scuffle. The result, well, Montefusco, he got a nice shiner, and Dave, he got an assault charge from the Count. So, you be the judge of if it was worth it or not. And sometimes I think when your leadership is questioned, sometimes you do have to take a stand. But on the other side, I think it's okay to listen too. I'm kind of like a manager. I'm a principal. And believe me, anything I do gets questioned. I have to decide, okay, am I doing the right thing? Am I making the right decisions by the Lord? Or am I doing it out of selfishness? Or am I on a power trip? But ultimately, I should be able to listen to criticism and then weigh it, So, anyways, Manager Monday, I learned a lot about Dave Bristol. Hopefully you've learned something from me in the research I did, and I hope you guys have a great Manager Monday.